question is about, you said changing the culture to defense, obviously with the team and bringing those habits in, but with a particular individual, and we've noticed, or some of us have noticed the changes with Andrea Bargnani. Can you talk to how you've done that and how you've talked to an individual to emphasize defense to them, like Dirk or Andrea?
Right. Well, with Dirk, it was, Dirk had faced so many setbacks as a player. If you remember correctly, they had gotten beat in the first round the year before with Golden State. The year before that, they got beat in the finals by Miami, a very tenacious, defensive-minded team. So he had a reference to go back to say, hey, this is what we got to do. This is the kind of team we got to be to win. I've scored a lot of points. I've done everything I can do offensively. The only thing I haven't done is bought in defensively. So that selling point to him was the most important thing. I think you have to find with a young lady or young man what is important to him and approach the change of culture from that standpoint. If he has a goal or she has a goal to get to, this is how you're going to get there. With Andrea, he scored points all over the world, all right? But to win, and using the Dirk example with him, he's a lot like Dirk as far as a player. Both guys are very skilled for their size. To believe it or not, Andrea is far more athletic than Dirk. So he has a leg up on him. Dirk has the experience right now. But using Dirk as an example, putting him in the same situations as we put Dirk in Dallas has really helped Andrea and helped really sell the point how important defense is. And he's that close to being an all-star. If he hadn't gotten hurt, he was on track not only for his offense, but every coach that I talked to that I was really pushing him for was how just like you said, the change in his approach defensively. Now our challenge now is when he comes back from injury this time is to maintain that defensive focus and that level of intensity on the defensive end as a player. But Andrea is a smart young man. He's from a basketball background. He played for Coach Messina, who was a great European coach as a young kid. So he's had a defensive background in his past. Now, somewhere along the way, but again, it's there. He's one of our best pick-and-roll defenders that we have because of his length, his quickness, his speed, athleticism. So he's been a joy for me to work with. I'm sad that he didn't have a chance to play as many games because of the injury, but going forward, it's going to be fun working with him and implementing him into the defensive things we want to do. But again, you have to find something there in their personality or in their goal process to make sure that it connects with where you're trying to go with your culture. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep. It always fascinates me when I watch basketball, especially with my kid, the game within the game. Before a rebound, pulling a guy just for a split second, pushing him away so he can't get into his jump for rebounding. So you work very hard to get your 1 second advantage, which is very important in the sport to free up a player. So I'm thinking, where is that coached? Do you have veterans show other players that are coming up how to do that? Do you have coaches coach kind of the slightly illegal parts of the sport? Right. And then at this level, answer that. And then when would you kind of try to cover these concepts with younger players?
That's a good question. The NBA, what I've learned more than anything else is the game within the game, the nuances of the game, the little things. Like you said, there's so many little tricks and everything that the veteran players know. Give you one. Defensively, we have a 3-second defensive rule where the veteran players will really take it to the 2.9 second. They'll stay in that lane as long as they have to make that lane look tight and shrunk. It doesn't look open. The veteran players, if you notice sometimes the arms get locked up or that guy trying to rotate and his pants are being pulled a little bit. All those little nuances. Give you another one, John Stockton. Everybody looks at him as a nice little quiet guy from Utah. One of the dirtiest, not dirty is a bad word, but knew all the tricks. Gary Payton would be trying to rotate and John Stockton standing on his foot, just, that little split second, and then take it off. Gary can't get over and rotate, so all those little tricks, a guy will grab a guy's arm, and now as soon as he tries to get out of it, the guy flops like he's been shot. So that act, and I have a thing in basketball, you got to have an act. You got to have an act, whether it's faking, stunting, taking a charge, really selling it. You've got a pump fake is an act. A ball fake is an act. So all those little things, you got to have an act as a basketball player. And those things are really emphasized more so in training camp. Your veterans are really important in showing young players the tricks of the trade in those situations. And believe it or not, and officials will never admit it, they kind of respect the older players when they do it. Now, a young player come in and try to do it, they'll try to emphasize the rule to the letter of the law. But the older players, they respect them and they'll talk them out of it and say, hey, watch it. And if he continues to do it or he gets a great advantage, if it's obvious, they'll call a foul in that situation. But having an act is something you can teach your kids, and it's not illegal. You're not teaching them to do something that's dirty, but it's the game within the game. And that's a big difference between a younger player and a veteran player is having an act. Okay. Right. That's a good question. My philosophy when I first came in the NBA, George Karl in Seattle, we were one of the first teams in the NBA to what they call blue, or down the pick and roll, not let him use the screen. All right? I've changed my philosophy over the years, especially after being in Dallas. I think it's personnel driven, but I'm a big show guy. I really feel like that if you have bigs that are athletic and can get out and impact the ball, hedging, showing is the best way to go, because you reroute the ball. You don't let that guy come off on the rhythm for a jump shot. Everybody's involved. Everybody has a job to do on the backside. So it's a system defense in the pick and roll situation. So I think the only time I like to switch is at the end of the quarters and at the end of the game in a special situation. Again, it's personnel driven. In the last 3 years, one of the things one time that I really believe in now also is mixing in zone. A zone defense in the NBA is a new thing, a relatively new thing, and that's something we utilize a lot because we have deficiencies at different positions, and one thing that will help a size deficiency or quickness deficiency or whatever athleticism deficiency is the zone defense. And it's not a stand-up 7-11 zone. Everybody has a job to do. There's rules involved. There's rotations involved. And if we have time sometime, I'm sure one of the coaches, Coach Sterner, can talk about it, but it's something we used in Dallas last year to help us win a championship against Miami, because man-to-man wise, we could not have guarded LeBron James, Dwane Wade, and those guys in Miami. But with our zone, we put that, like you said, that much doubt. We wanted that much time to slow down LeBron's one-on-one ability. Dwane Wade's quickness and speed coming at us gave us an advantage. We could get back and get set and could guard him in the paint.
Okay. Coach, we really appreciate your time. I know, and this is what happens. You start talking basketball, and it's great, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've been fortunate enough to sit and talk, and the next thing you know, time can go by. We appreciate you so much taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. The program is going to move on. I want to say this, because I was up there interviewing Coach, and right before we did the interview, he took the time to sign a basketball for each and every one of you today. So thank you very much for doing that as well. So when you exit Gate 5, each and every one of you will get a basketball And not only did he take the time, obviously, to talk to you today, he was up there with the basketballs all lined up. I think he went through about 5 Sharpies doing it. So thank you very much, Coach. All right, all the best. All right, good luck tonight.